Hi, my name's Paul Lewis and I'm an actuary, and I work for a reinsurance company called Genre, which is a global company, but I'm based in our Cape Town office. And I've been involved in the Assisa Academy underwriting training program since its inception last year. And I've just finished a lecture today, the first sort of actuarial lecture, and it covers basically the 3 Ps. So there's pricing, there's product development, and there are products. So these are the kind of things that I spent a number of years learning about at university. And what I really try to do is just to get some very broad concepts through to the underwriters. Because I really believe that although underwriters on a daily basis are doing underwriting, they really should understand the basis of what they are making their decisions on. So what I do is I explain to them, for example, how a mortality table is derived in terms of needing to understand who is exposed to the risk of dying and who actually dies. And we go through a whole exercise about where you would collect the data from, how you would adjust it, maybe needing to allow for the fact the data is old, that there are trends, that the data is not necessarily relevant to the insured population. So we discuss the fact that actually population mortality is normally higher than insured population. We talk a lot about the fact there's not always great data, so we may need to look overseas, we may need to ask consultants or reinsurers to assist us, we may need to ask medical people to assist us. We then dig a bit deeper to look at mortality of insured people in particular, and we break it down into things like rating classes. So we explain risk factors and rating factors. So a risk factor is something that does impact your mortality in this case, but may not be measurable. And we also discuss things like rating factors, which are measurable. So that may be your age, it may be your weight, maybe your smoking status, and your socioeconomic class. So we go through the whole process of trying to explain what a mortality curve looks like and what it actually means. So it's your chance of dying in any one year, given your age and your gender. But then I also explain that in some ways a mortality curve can also be thought of as a premium curve. I then take it one step further to say, well, you as an underwriter, what you're doing is you're trying to assess whether someone is an average risk, because mortality curve to a certain extent is for an average population. And if they're not average, how much more should you charge? And I think for the first time, a lot of the underwriters start to realize that that's what they're doing. They take in a premium, so what we charge someone for insurance, and try to calculate what we really should charge this person because they are not standard, because either they have something medically wrong with them, or they have a dangerous occupation or pastime, or they're traveling to dangerous countries. The other key thing we discuss is the difference between a flat extra loading or a percentage extra loading. So I explain that a flat extra loading is for something where the risk stays constant over time. And an example of that is someone who, for example, flies an aeroplane. So whether you fly an aeroplane at 30 or whether you're at 50 or whether you're at 60, the risk is fairly similar. As opposed to an extra mortality loading, and that may be because you have a heart condition, and actually your chance of dying increases over time. Another example is if you're overweight. The fact that you're overweight as you get older and older has a cumulative effect on your mortality. So we give a background to how the pricing works, and then we move into what the actual products are. And in today's lecture we focused very much on mortality, which is the product that is actually sold most often. And we talked about things like, well, what is the purpose of the product? We're breaking them into the 2 broad groups. The one is for personal cover and the one is for business cover. And then under personal cover, things like you trying to replace your income, you might be trying to cover a debt when you die, you may be trying to cover your funeral expenses. And then on the business side, we cover in things like key man cover, business continuation cover, and buy and sell cover, and contingent liability cover. And we sort of discuss what the purpose of the cover is for, and then other things like, well, how long should the term of the cover be for? So if it's a loan cover, you really should only offer cover for the term of the loan and not for whole of life. Then we also talk about some of the more subtle things about pricing and mortality benefits, things like guarantee terms and when the premiums are paid and how the premiums change over time, whether the sum insured changes over time. And then in this lecture we finish off by talking a bit about product development in general. So product development is a collaborative process. It may include actuaries, underwriters, claims people, intermediaries, marketing people. We talked about where ideas for new products might come up, how the process works from the design to the pricing to the eventual launch, and then the very important part after launch, which is to continue monitoring the product. So are you setting too many products? Are you setting too few products? And what does that mean for your business? And then lastly, we also talked about, in terms of the pricing side, is how do you go from the price for just the risk, which is the cost of the death, to what the insurance company actually charges. So we talked a little bit about expenses, why you need to make sure you cover your expenses and how you calculate that. The fact that also you need to give some money back to your shareholders, so you've got to charge your cost of capital. And lastly, you also need to pay your distributors, so the brokers or the sales agents, you need to pay a commission. So in the end, we talk about the 3 Ps, we talk a bit about product, we talk a little bit about product development, and we talk about pricing. Thank you.